Hey everyone, hopefully this is live. My name is Ronsley, and we're going to talk about podcasting for business. In today's show, we're going to talk about how to create a unique, memorable, unique podcast for you and your business. And if you already have a podcast, how to use it in the most unique way possible. If you are someone like us, James and myself, and you value working out, I've got a special deal for you from our sponsors, Workout, WRKOUT.com. Get your first session for free with a personalized one-on-one trainer, followed by a 25% discount if you tell them Bronsley sent you. Here is a video from our sponsors. James, how are you?
Hello, my friend. Gee, it's always great to see your face.
It's a new setup, a new way of doing video. We thought we'd spice up 2022 by getting a full blown show from our studios from across the
New
world.
year, new format, new plans, new goals. I love it. I know there's a lot of people who have been feeling some pain the last month with everything that's happened with COVID, isolation, health, travel restrictions, not being able to see family, all that different stuff. But we're here to help you, to motivate you, to help you elevate your idea of what's possible for you in 2022, to come up with some really epic plans to grow your business and grow your podcast. So we're going to be doing a lot more live trainings and sessions like this to help you do exactly that. And we want to make them as interactive as possible. So if you've got any questions at any stage, drop that in the comments and we will tackle that as quick as we can.
100%. And if you have a question on podcasting for business, how to like get leads, clients, opportunities, put that in the comments. We'd love to be able to address them. But how many failed podcasts that people interview other people on have the same story, their entrepreneurial journey? It's all the same sort of thing. And one of the things that we really wanted to start off with, which is probably the basis and the bedrock of creating something memorable and something unique and something that you can focus on to create more content, is about creating a unique show rather than copying someone else's show. I'm sure you have examples, James, of different things that have been on fire because of John Lee Dumas. And I think like that, we want to avoid making those, or I suppose, avoid making those mistakes. And we wanted to address what that might look like.
Yeah, so true. You know, it reminds me of the movie There's Something About Mary, where they talk about 7-minute abs and then the idea of 6-minute abs. And it's like that's what it is in the podcasting world. It's what has also happened in the book world for people who are authors out there. You want to make sure you're not a discounted, crappy version of someone else. We want you to be authentically you, because if you're doing that, you're going to be so much more passionate about it. You're going to have that genuine curiosity to learn as much as you possibly can about that industry. So for the clients that you have, you're going to want to get as many answers as possible, and you're going to be incentivized to get some of the best experts in different industries and from all over the world to help you create amazing content on your podcast that you love, that your audience loves. And that means that passion is going to come through and they're going to share it with a whole bunch of different people. Don't replicate what someone else out there is doing who might have a whole bunch of different followers. Look, the reality is they've probably been in the podcasting game for a long, long time. We want you to think about what is your truth. And really, in the last 2 years, what we have seen now is that the world needs leaders. Rather than bicker with everyone out there, or worse, think that you don't even have a voice, Now is the time for your leadership. Now is the time for you to have that confidence to be able to step up and identify what's most important to you. An example of that might be letting people know what's possible for them in their life, to elevate their belief of what's possible in a world where so many people are telling them that they shouldn't have a voice, or that their business needs to be shut down, or that the traditional way of doing things is still an option. You need to really think about what you're going to do with your podcast, how it lines up with your business, but most importantly, how it lines up with your truth, because the extension of all of that in everything that you do, your entire ecosystem and your community and your product offering, is going to be strengthened so much for it as a result. If any of this is resonating with you, I'd love to hear what Ronzi and I are sharing today. Drop it in the comment if you've got a certain takeaway or aha moment from what we're sharing, and also let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from around the world.
Yeah, 100%. So the idea of this training is that once you're done creating a unique show, you get three things. Once you have a unique show for your business, you get focus, which is probably the most important thing that every business owner needs, because there's enough moving parts, enough distractions around for us to kind of go, hey, let me get on Instagram and do that, or let me get on TikTok and do that. So focus is probably the most important thing for a business owner in today's day and age, because you're consuming so much. We're seeing so many different things happening, and we're like, should I jump on that bandwagon or should I not? The second thing that you get from creating, once you finish this training and creating a unique show, is you become memorable. You become memorable for who you are and what people see in you as being memorable. And you base it off you, and you base it off your truth, which is not replicable. You can't replicate that, right? And the third thing you get, that is probably the biggest thing, is that you create a business asset from your podcast, and your podcast makes it such that it's not just another thing that you're doing. It is something that actually gives more value to your business. And I have a framework though for that.
Love it. Let's do it. You know, this thing, Ron's, that people might be nervous about this stuff. A lot of things that we're talking about here can be traced back to vulnerability. There's the quote from Philip McKernan, who's spoken at our We Are podcast events a bunch of times. He talks about your greatest gift lies next to your deepest wound. You might be watching this or listening to this thinking, well, look, it's going to be really uncomfortable for me to be able to do that. But if you cannot identify that truth and be upfront about that vulnerability, there are so many people out there who you will not be able to serve. It means that they will not be able to get the transformation that they want and that they need because of a limitation that you have imposed on yourself. So by getting very, very clear on your truth and that message and your vulnerability, and seeing it as a strength, as a gift, rather than a weakness or a wound, it's going to be so much easier for you to have that impact, to build your tribe, and to have a really kick-ass and entertaining podcast that people love to listen to.
Yeah, 100%. So it's funny that you mentioned that quote, because I literally have that quote written down. So to mention it, so you took that off me. Thank you, James. Let's get into the
First
framework.
and last of our show.
All right, let's get into the framework. So here's the thing. You can create different types of podcasts, but for you to create a unique and profitable podcast, you need, in our opinion, you need two things. You need to base it on your truth, which James just covered really well, because we for us, one of the biggest aha moments was reading Philip McKernan's book and having him train our people on creating content based on your truth. And that by far separates people and creates something so unique that it cannot be replicated. And the second thing is that you got to create it for your business. So the two things that need to happen for you to create a unique and profitable podcast is you got to base it on your truth, and you've got to do it for your business. When that happens, you have a growing audience and you create leads, clients, and opportunities. Right. And we have a roadmap. If you're a business owner and you want to know what things to implement in what order, go to roadmap.wearepodcast.com and download a free copy. But if you do not base your podcast on your truth, then you base that on others' truth. And if you do not create a podcast for your business, you create a podcast for yourself. So you'll notice here how this changes, right? So if it's not for your business, it is for yourself. If it's not based on your truth, it is based on others' truth. So let's see what happens when you create a podcast that's based on others' truth and it's for yourself. Well, you create a learning podcast, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you were trying to create a profitable podcast, then a learning podcast is not going to give you the result, because it is for you, it is for yourself. It doesn't land up being of service because you're still learning, and it doesn't allow for impact because you're still in the rep stage, trying to get more reps to create more content. And usually people don't get into this phase because they don't want to create one for themselves and on other people's truth. But usually they land up in either of these yellow categories, and we want to avoid that as well. So what happens if you create a podcast based on your truth but for yourself? You create a hobby podcast. It kind of lacks impact, and it leads to pod fade because it lands up being all about you, and then there's no way to create more energy in it. The other aspect is what we see most of: is you create one for your business and it's based on other people's truth. And when that happens, it's just another business copycat podcast. And it's done with good intentions for sure, but they don't work. And again, they lead to pod fade. And if you don't know what pod fade is, there is a great stat out there that 2/3 of the podcasts out on iTunes right now have 9 or less episodes, and which means people start podcasts and after a few episodes, they pod fade and they realize it's a lot of work. So the idea for you to do, for us all, is to be in this top little box here. And if you're here, when you base it on your truth and you base it on your business, you create $1 million podcast platform. And if you want to know how to do that, go to roadmap.wearepodcast.com, and we've got a whole roadmap to make sure that you can do that. Does that make sense? I wonder whether I explained that, James.
Ron's crushing it. Perfect. You're an absolute expert at these things. I wonder if you were meticulous with your dishes back in the restaurateur days as you are with all the business growth stuff. So this is brilliant. If anyone's got any questions, we want to know, we want to answer these questions. We put a link to the roadmap into the comments, so you can go and grab a copy of that if you haven't got one already. The roadmap's going to give you a bird's eye view of the entire journey for you to be able to grow your business really well using your podcast. We're also doing another training with Alison Melody tomorrow. So if you want to get more information on how to grow your business using your podcast in 2022, make sure you join us live for that training, live and interactive, with Alison Melody tomorrow. She's an amazing person, the host of the Food Heals podcast, author of the best-selling book Food Heals, and a very great mutual friend of Ronsley and I. And we just finished a clubhouse with Ali earlier today too.
Yeah. So let's get into what you need to do to make a unique show. There are three things. The first thing is link your truth to your business. The second thing is make a 1 year commitment to serve based on your truth. And the third thing is do not change your strategy for the next 90 days. And it's quite simple. The last one, especially, is really important because we keeping on. Sometimes we want the results so quickly that we forget that we got to stay on the path for a bit longer. So there are three things for you to do. And if you want this training, please send us a message. We would love to send it to you. And we do this for our clients. And it is exactly how to create a unique show based on these three things: linking your truth to your business, and we show you how to get your truth out and then link it, how to create your 1 year commitment, and how to not stray from your path over the next 90 days. If you are thinking, oh, I already have a podcast, how do I make it sound good? um, go to iTunes or go to Spotify and search for "Should I Start a Podcast?" And one of the most recent episodes is there's a two-parter on how to make a good sounding podcast. So go and consume that on "Should I Start a Podcast?" But before we wind all this up, I want to say that next in the next video, we're going to tackle how to get your right message to the right audience. And because while you create a unique show, it's really important that the right people hear you and you're not wasting your energy on the wrong people, right? But I wonder whether, James, you have anything to add to creating the uniqueness in your show and making a more profitable podcast for your business.
Yeah, I want to remind people that working hard is not enough for success in the podcast game, just like it's not enough for success in the business game. If working hard was all it took, there'd be so many more people who are at the upper echelons of all these different things. And it's the reason why, as Ron's mentioned earlier, more than 80% of these podcasts are inactive because people, they might be working hard, but they're not working smart. They're not doing the right things. So, doing the things that we have spoken about step by step in this training today should really help you start to have a business that you love, a podcast you love, and start to attract the right people, not just potential guests on your show, but also people in your audience. I'm flicking through some of the comments that we have got on here as well. I just want to make sure that we can quickly address them. We've got Mario. Great to see you, Mario. Looking on the site, do you have dates for the events this year? We have the entire year mapped out, but we haven't announced it publicly yet, Mario. We're actually going to be starting with a 5-day challenge. It's going to happen in a couple of weeks. It's going to be amazing. Keep an eye on your inbox for that. For anyone who is not on our mailing list, go and download the roadmap. And that way we'll keep you in the loop when we're doing events and other trainings and things like this one. Rose, you just mentioned I have just under 20,000 downloads of my podcast. How can I get more? We never want to make sure, I think first of all, it's recognizing that 20,000 is a great milestone. So well done on doing that. That's fantastic. We have so many trainings on how to get more downloads and things for your podcast. It's a bit too much to cover in this training right here, but I promise you that we will cover that in some future trainings. And if anyone has some strategies and things on what they want to employ to grow their business using their podcast in 2022, I mean, the game has changed a fair bit. The last couple of years, we've had new social media platforms emerging. We've had a lot more of a push to remote work and virtual communications. There's a lot of investment and product launches that have happened in the field of audio. There are so many things that you can leverage. Relationships is one of the best ways that you can not only grow your downloads, but also grow your business as well. So there are so many things that you can do on that front. If you want to know more about that, join us for the live training that we're doing with Alice and Melody tomorrow, and the training that we'll do again with Ronsley and I next week. And if you haven't already, go and download a copy of the roadmap. There's a link to that in the comments.
Yeah, and great milestone, by the way. 20,000 downloads is big. I suppose from that, what I'd like to ask you is how do you take that audience and bring them into your business, right? And then because that is probably key from a business perspective when we're talking about podcasting for business. There are lots and lots of podcasts with lots of downloads, but if it doesn't really, it's not really a podcast for business if it doesn't help grow the business. So my next step for you, Rose, is to figure out how to get more of your audience into the business, rather than increasing the downloads and creating a whole bunch of audience that doesn't overflow into your business. Again, if you agree, disagree, and got a question, just let us know. If you have thoughts and ideas on what we shared, please let us know. Before I wind this up, I want to just give a shout out to our sponsor, Workout. Workout. I've been doing workouts with Workout, WRKOUT.com for a few months now. Personalized one-on-one training. With my personal trainer on the other side, and I can do everything from yoga, which is yoga for jocks, and to hit exercises and strength exercises. And they have been very generous with an offer that gives you a free personalized one-on-one coaching if you tell them Ronsley sent you, and then 25% off your next purchase. So when we wind this up, you'll finally hear a note from our sponsors. So thank you for joining us. James, any final last words?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize here that the reason we're growing our business is because we want to help transform the lives of a whole bunch of people. That's what we're doing here. It's not a selfish goal with these things. If you're serious about helping a whole bunch of people because they have a problem that you're passionate about solving and you want to make the world a better place and impact as many people as you can, that's why you implement the lessons that we spoke about today. And that's why you would continue to implement the things that we are going to talk about in these trainings on an ongoing basis. It's not just to grow your podcast. It's not just to grow your business. The whole reason we do all of these things is to go and help a lot of people get the transformation that they need so we can make the world a better place. If you're very serious about that, you will make sure that you are airtight with every opportunity that you get. An example of that might be if you go and appear on someone else's show, making sure you have a resource to be able to help that community in a way that if someone wants to learn more about you and the solutions that you provide, that you've got a lot of value and things that you're able to provide them as well. Ronsley and I both, for far too long, wasted a lot of opportunities, whether it was speaking on stage or appearing on different media forums and podcasts and television shows and radio stations, where we were there providing value and we were getting people hyped up. But if you're not providing them resources and tangible ways to be able to actually get a result and a mini transformation for you, then it's a wasted opportunity for you. And unfortunately, it's a missed opportunity for those people because they have not been able to move towards, they have not been able to progress in that journey that they have. So never forget that the end goal of all of the stuff that we're talking about here and what you're doing with your business and what you're doing with your podcast is to help change the lives of a bunch of people.
And remember that quote by Philip McKernan, your greatest gift lies next to your deepest wounds. Sometimes we try to hide them, but that's where the gift lies. So on that note, we'll see you in the next video. Here's a last message from our sponsors.